And we're ready whenever you are, Mayor.
Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight's City Council meeting. For those who are attending remotely, the camera in the council chambers is set up to show those attending in person tonight. The platform we are using has a raise hand feature. You will notice a picture of a hand in the upper right-hand corner. When we reach the point in the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address council, you can click that button and be given your opportunity to address council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Scally,
Here.
Counselor Dilaba.
Here.
Counselor Fisher.
Here.
Counselor Powers.
Here.
Counselor Reish.
Here.
Counselor Scamperly.
Here.
Quorum present.
Mayor, I'd like to call a point of order. I went back and I looked at the meetings as well as the attorney's opinion regarding filling the vacant seat for Councilor Kennedy. And I thought you guys had voted on August 14th, the meeting that I missed, to do that. And because it was on the agenda. So I looked at it, the meeting, I saw Councilor Powers' motion and nobody seconded it. So the attorney says that council should have filled the seat, or should have, excuse me, not only filled the seat, that's what the charter says. We should have had a simple vote to select Mr. Tooley to fill the vacancy in accordance with C10. And so I'd like to make that motion right now that we do just that. I'd like to motion that we follow the instructions of the city attorney and conduct a simple vote to vote for Mr. Tooley to fill the vacancy in accordance with C10 of the city charter, not a resolution, as he points out, because that's not necessary. So I'd like to do that. If anybody would like to second it.
Point of order, we've already discussed this and deliberated it on multiple occasions, and
It's
we
done.
decided not to, and I don't think it's valid to bring it back up again.
Well, the charter says that we have to fill the seat. So that's the law, it's a city law.
Kathy wouldn't have taken a roll on that if it wasn't a resolution.
So that was a resolution that we voted on. And as the attorney says, it's clear about it. We didn't need to do that. We should have.
And we
Taken
disagreed
the vote
with
under
the
C10.
attorney. The attorney, we disagreed with the attorney.
Well, I don't care if you
I don't know if you
disagree.
were at that meeting.
I do agree with him.
No,
And
we're not going to do it.
I just made a motion to do that. So if somebody'd like to second it.
I'll
fine.
second it.
If you don't, all right, there we go. So I'd like to call the roll and just vote one way or another.
Via
Under
C10,
Under C10.
recognizing the resolution wasn't necessary,
Right,
which we moved the resolution in the first time.
right.
Point of order, this isn't on the agenda. We've already discussed it, and it's out of order.
But you skipped it on the agenda.
Vote the right way.
You should have had to vote.
Well, you're
Which
going to need five.
Full off the agenda.
Yeah,
Per Robert's Rules of Order, that piece of agenda item was not ruled to come off the agenda. It was just willy-nilly.
He just made a motion and you seconded.
I know, but I'm responding to
So let's call the roll.
via C10.
Via C10.
I think it's out, the motion's out of order.
I agree.
I don't think one bit.
So,
And we already voted, Dan. I mean, I don't know why you're going through this
You
again.
didn't vote on C10,
vote on
and that's what the
C10.
attorney
You
said.
really think the
That
outcome
we
was?
should have voted under
You
C10.
really think the
We
outcome?
never did.
We did vote.
Yeah,
We did. We voted on
And I
it.
voted for Mike Tooley as well.
He's
and
very
I-
clear on his opinion, very clear.
this is
Dan,
nothing
he's
but
wrong
a,
he's wrong on multiple opinions. He was wrong on that too.
nothing but a ploy for attention. So, we do not have any.
No, first and a second here. It's either yay or nay.
Point of order, the motion's out of order.
I don't think so.
Who's ruling that?
We're moving.
I make a motion to table his motion.
Bring it up under old business?
Second it.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
There we go.
Opposed.
Now move on, Mike, please.
All right.
Okay, we do not have any presentations tonight. We have one proclamation tonight. And I would like to invite the representatives, Sally Hartman and the other representatives from the Daughters of American Revolution to join council while I make this proclamation.
Before we do that, and this is September 11th.
Let's finish
Okay,
this
okay.
for everyone. Would you ladies like to stand right in here?
Sally Carter.
Welcome
Chris.
to City Council.
Hi, how are you?
Sheila.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Okay. Constitution Week proclamation in Ogdensburg, New York, 2023. Whereas September 11th, 2023 marks the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of the proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through 23 as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Jeffrey M. Skelly, Mayor of the City of Ogdensburg, do hereby proclaim September 17th through 2023 to be Constitution Week in the City of Ogdensburg, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideas the framers of the Constitution had in 1787.
Thank you, Mayor Sam. It's Mayor Skelly. And I recently came across a photograph of Mayor Lockwood where we have presented the same constitution during his tenure here. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Mayor, Dan might help me out here. I don't know if we do something generally for September 11th. Maybe we should have a moment of silence.
Moment of silence
All
usually when we
rise.
do the pledge, but yes, anytime it's fitting, I would agree. So if you want to do that,
Yes, like
stand up and have it.
You can have everybody rise, bow our heads in a moment of silence for 9/11, the anniversary of 9/11. Thank you.
Okay, moving ahead, or John, did you?
that was it.
That was it, okay. We have one public hearing tonight regarding a local law to amend the city charter, and I will open that up to public hearing now. If anyone is attending in person would like to speak, come down to the podium and you'll have 5 minutes.
Yes, good evening. Michael Tooley, 214 Hamilton Street, City. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. First, based on the rationale shared by City Council, I support the changes to amend the budget preparation timeline in the city charter. However, I do think there'll need to be an amendment in section C71 related to taxes payable in installments, letter B. The 3 installment dates listed are 31st of January, 31st of April, and 31st of May. There is no 31st day of April. April only has 30 days. So I suspect it might have been intended to be 31st day of March, so you use the same calendar as the county payment of taxes, January, March, and May. But one way or the other, that needs to be corrected. And then I would encourage the city to be proactive, that if this is adopted, that you issue letters to every taxpayer notifying of these changing dates. People have been used to paying 50% of their taxes on an installment basis in May, and now we're going to be asking them to pay 2/3 of their taxes by the end of March. And so it's going to, might create some hardships in some people that might need to rearrange how they set money aside for the property taxes, could impact escrow accounts for taxes with mortgages at lenders. So besides the media, I think it'd be a good step to be proactive and send letters to all taxpayers if you would. Thank you.
Is there anyone else would like to address council? Is there anyone attending remotely?
I do not see any hands raised.
I declare this public hearing closed. And this brings us to personal appearance. Anyone attending at this time in council would like to come down, you have 5 minutes at the podium to address us.
Hello, Margaret Haggerty, City.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening. If everybody's ready.
Yep.
I have a quick shout out to the taxpaying citizens of Ogdensburg who may or may not have heard the beginning of this meeting where we've got a lawyer, and we pay him, but we only listen to him if we choose to. So taxpayers, shout out to all of us. And then also the comment was made that when Dan brought something up, why are we bringing it up again when we've already discussed it many times? But we've only had one meeting since that meeting that Dan referenced. So I'm not sure if somebody's trying to maybe spin some statistics or what, but for clarity, there's only been one meeting since, besides today, since the one that you brought up, Dan. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Anyone remotely attending?
I do not see any hands raised.
And this brings us to correspondence. I believe we have 2 letters.
Yes, Mayor. Dear Mayor and members of City Council, over the past 4 years, the city of Ogdensburg has faced difficult times with sharp divisions, polarized debates, and a host of seemingly insurmountable problems. Our community has benefited from the steady leadership of acting city manager Andrea Smith. Not once but twice, Andrea has stepped in when other city managers could not walk the delicate tightrope between the divisions of city council. Not once but twice, she has been asked to forge budgets in the face of $1 million deficits that were left to her from previous city administrations. Andrea Smith has been the bright light for Ogdensburg during our community's difficult times. Andrea Smith has stood up, working with anyone who has been willing to work with her to help Ogdensburg find its way during times that would test any public administrator. As a member of the St. Lawrence County Legislature, I have tried to stay out of the tough decisions faced by City Council. However, I feel it's important to publicly offer my thoughts and advice as City Council considers a final tough decision. City Council needs to hold a public hearing to amend the charter to allow Ogdensburg to hire someone who lives outside of the city, so you can hire Andrea Smith as city manager. Holding a public hearing would give the entire community an opportunity to offer its thoughts, both pro and con. But let's be clear. I believe I am speaking for many others when I state that Andrea Smith has earned the right to be our city manager. As someone who was born in Ogdensburg, grew up in Ogdensburg, was educated in Ogdensburg, and came home to Ogdensburg, our city will never find anyone with the same level of commitment that Andrea has brought to this community over the years that she has worked her way up through the ranks. Andrea enjoys unequaled respect among fellow planners, municipal leaders, members of the media, elected officials, and public administrators across upstate New York, where she is regularly described as someone who has brought common sense and problem-solving skills to a community faced by seemingly intractable issues. The past 4 city managers have each told me in private conversations what a great asset she has been to our community. Over the course of her career, she has grown in her leadership skills, which she could now bring to help Ogdensburg emerge from the current crisis it faces. With 2 master's degrees from a nationally recognized university, real-life experience during difficult times, and an established track record of bringing in extremely difficult-to-find multi-million-dollar state and federal grants, Ogdensburg is not going to find a better qualified candidate who can hit the ground running. No candidate for city manager is going to be perfect, but no candidate has worked harder and longer during more difficult times to earn the trust of the people of this city than Andrea Smith, whose unceasing efforts and dedication has earned her the right to be our next city manager. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, James Reagan.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
You know what? Thank you, Andrew, for your commitment. I couldn't
Sure that discussion will be coming. So.
Thank you.
Woman more letter?
The next letter is from the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York. Dear Ms. Smith, the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York is in receipt of your letter dated August 29th, 2023 concerning the Letchworth Complex demolition, the subject project, at the St. Lawrence Psychiatric Center in Ogdensburg, St. Lawrence County. We appreciate the City of Ogdensburg's concurrence with DASNY's State Environmental Quality Review lead agency status. Thank you as well for the comments pertaining to the subject property and the campus in general. In response, it is important to note that DASNY's involvement with the subject property is at the request of the New York State Office of Mental Health. The campus remains a functioning New York State Office of Mental Health facility, and any future plans for the campus reside with New York State Office of Mental Health. Buildings 86, 58, and 38 are among those under consideration for demolition. Any such demolition could take place only after the completion of the required seeker and State Historic Preservation Act reviews. DASNY is consulting with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, and all activities, including demolition, would be undertaken in a manner consistent with the consultation process. DASNY acknowledges the city's interest in acquiring certain surplus property on the campus. However, at this time, DASNY has not been directed to pursue any potential disposition of the property. Under the state law cited by the city, the Commissioner of General Services is authorized to convey the property to the city, subject to the approval of the Commissioner of the New York State Office of Mental Health, the Commissioner of the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, and the Director of the Division of Budget. DASNY is not authorized to initiate this process. The city's request for an inventory and analysis of remaining buildings, as well as efforts to preserve other buildings on the campus, have been forwarded to New York State Office of Mental Health as these buildings continue to be under OMH jurisdiction. During the demolition, DASNY may undertake limited salvage of important architectural elements such as cornerstones, stone blocks with engravings and designs, or building markers. Salvage materials may be incorporated into a historic display pertaining to the complex. Materials not utilized in this historic display will be overturned to the New York State Office of Mental Health for future reuse. If you have specific ideas for the incorporation of salvage materials, please let us know and we will share these suggestions with SHPO. Once again, DASNY would like to thank you for providing comments during the subject project. If DASNY can be of any further assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out to the project team. Sincerely, Robert DeCero.
Thank you.
Can we talk about that now, or do you want to wait until?
When we go through everything and have it in discussion?
Yeah, it's fine.
Next, we have our consent agenda that the claims as enumerated in general fund warrant number 16-2023 in the amount of $394,791.86, and library warrant number 16-2023 in the amount of $0, and capital fund warrant number 16-2023 in the amount of $18,601.50, and community development warrant number 16-2023 in the amount of $0, and the Community Renewal Fund warrant number 16-2023 in the amount of $0 as audited be and the same hereby are ordered paid. I so move.
I'll second it.
Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Reese,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
approved.
We do not have any appointments tonight, so this brings us to items for council action. Our first item of business will be read by interim city manager, Andrea Smith.
This is a local law to amend the city charter. It's quite lengthy. I'm happy to read the whole thing, but I do,
Move that. Sorry. I'll second. Down a little bit. I'll second.
I do want to make a note that Mr. Tully is correct, that B under C71 should be the 31st day of March. So that is a typo.
I'd make a motion to amend that. We'll take care of that first, and I have another thing I wanted to bring up. Good.
Change to the resolution.
Yeah, the amendment that was suggested, the date change that was caught. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Yes.
Yes. So Kathy, would you please call the roll?
This is to amend, Mayor.
To amend.
Okay, Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
What are we amending?
The date.
Just the
Just
date.
the dates? Yeah,
One
yeah,
date.
yeah,
one-
yes.
one
yes,
date.
yes, yes.
The one date that Mr.
Yeah.
Counselor Reese,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
approved. And now, as amended, or do you have more?
Do we have discussion on it or are we ready to vote?
He's got one.
We did vote, right?
That was
We
to
voted on
amend.
the amendment.
That was to amend.
Yep.
So
okay.
that has not
And I
been
have
approved.
another amendment. I just have a concern. So the budget would be submitted on the 15th of October under this proposal. And then it basically dictates to the council that you shall accept it or make modifications to it by the 31st of October. I mean, that's like, how does anybody have time to review a budget and make modifications? I'd prefer seeing it kept the same as November 15th in section 4 and section 5 to give the elected officials an opportunity to digest it. And, maybe you have budget modifications to the preliminary budget, then I just think we need more time. Does anybody see a problem where that would interfere with the timeline? Do you?
Well, so the dates, specifically the first date you mentioned, on or before the 15th day of October. So the 15th day is the latest day that the city manager can present the preliminary budget, which then does have to be accepted. So all we essentially did is kind of move these all back with the knowing that we would have to have the final budget adopted according to this on or before the 1st of December instead of the 20th. So we tried to account for that all along. And that particular date that you're referencing, the 31st day of October, also is the last date in which the council has to call for the public hearing.
What does that have to do with the county as far as collecting the sales tax, the tax and stuff, getting on the same page with them?
So we need to have our budget adopted before December 20th, which is how our charter currently reads, to allow the county to have enough time to produce our bills, which are mailed around the 1st of December, or the 1st of January.
But does it need to go that far out? Is pretty much what Councilor Reese is saying.
In our conversations with the county, they had suggested as early as late November and as late as this sort of first week of December. So this was December 1st, seemed like it could check all of the boxes for what the county had asked for, as well as what we could achieve, particularly this year.
And I'm not suggesting that we change the adoption date of December, which is going to be December 1. I'm not suggesting that we change that. I'm just suggesting that we need more time to review the preliminary budget before we have enough ability to accept it or modify it. I just don't think that that's fair to the elected officials to have that short of a time frame. It doesn't affect our intent with the county to have it all done by December 1. So that's my concern.
I don't think you understand. We don't have to finally accept it until December 1st, correct?
You have to accept a preliminary budget.
Right.
Which is the budget that
You present.
defaults to if council is unable to come to a conclusion on another budget by December 1st.
Yes, it says accept and or modify. So, I mean, you're given the opportunity
But you only get 2
to
weeks.
review it, and it's an impossible timeline to actually, research that, and I think there's not much time to do it.
Everything's just been moved 15 days. It hasn't, it's the same process we've always had. Everything's just been moved. It's 15 days.
Yeah, and it just jumps out at me now. I mean, I think normally the council just rubber stamps it.
No,
I don't think you've ever modified a manager's budget before. Before that first deadline, you just accepted it.
We just did.
Well, last year, the
just last
budget
year,
was rejected. The initial budget that was submitted by the city manager was rejected.
It wasn't accepted.
That's correct. It was submitted in October.
I think we accepted it, but then we modified it later.
No,
No, you can't.
we didn't accept, what we did was we tabled it. And it didn't, you're right.
So on the date that you receive the preliminary budget, you also have the opportunity to adopt it as it is before you, or take the additional 2 weeks and make amendments and adopt an amended version of the preliminary budget, which there is a lot of importance to the preliminary budget. We went through that in great detail last year. But it is the preliminary budget. Essentially, it allows us to start the process, have a call for the public hearing, have budget workshops. It is not the final budget, and typically is not the final budget. It's the city manager's preliminary budget, but
Workable document to work upon.
to Councilor
Preliminary
Scamberly's
budget
point,
To acceptance of a budget.
we moved the deadline up about 2 weeks, and so we moved all of the dates back about 2 weeks.
I think council will know in 2 weeks if they're gonna, accept it or not. So,
And that is, again, that is on or before the 15th of October. It's not this, I have said publicly that it's the city's, it's management's intent to present a preliminary budget on the 25th of September. That is the date that we are working towards.
That may be true this year, but
Sure.
generally it's not. I mean, generally it's that day that it's submitted. I can live with it. I just don't think it's, I mean, maybe council needs to take a look at, well, the whole charter needs to be taken a look at, but it should be more of an adequate timeline for the elected officials to have their input. But I'm fine if you just want to go with it as it is, we can vote on that.
okay. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
So this is as amended in accordance with the amendment already approved. Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Reish?
Yep.
Counselor Scamperly?
yes.
Mayor Skelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba?
Yes.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will also be read by City Manager Andrea Smith.
This is a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to execute a site access agreement with the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority.
I'll move that.
Second.
And this is in regards to their construction project. It did actually go through a graveyard or was anything disturbed?
So yes, this is Potter's Field, which is located directly across 812 from the highway. It is property owned by the city of Ogdensburg. Even though it is in the town of Oswegatchie, it is owned by the city of Ogdensburg. And this project does go through the middle of it. It didn't specifically receive approval from the city when this started back in 2018.
How would they not seek our permission to dig on our land?
That is a very good question that I do not have the answer to.
So anyways, this
According
straight,
to Bridge and Port Authority, they gave all the paperwork to the city manager at the time, Steve Jelly.
That would have been not Stephen Jelly. It would have been in 2018
I think they said 2020. That's what they told me.
2018.
is when it started.
2018.
So Sarah Purdy, I mean, does the city have any records of?
There's no documentation of anything that was provided to the city.
No email communications, no, nothing?
No, but she knew Pottersfield was there. She knew that there was a deed.
Well, regardless of that, I mean,
No.
the fact of the matter is she's
Before
gone,
they
Jelly's
start-
gone, and we
before they-
have got a significant issue on our hands here with the Port Authority that,
But
I don't know how they got it by the state.
So
alone-
they don't have all their permits in place. This is one of the conditions. So
They want a
the
working
project
relationship.
started and has been stopped once it was brought to the attention of the city what was going on out there. We issued a stop work order and work has not commenced since that was issued on August 1st. The first thing that needs to be in place for this work to continue is they have to have the ability to go on and do the work, which is via this site access agreement. In addition, the correspondence that we have issued to the Port Authority requests that all of the permits be in place, including the DOT permit that is essential to allowing them to cross 812, which they do not have in place at this time. And it would also require that they have a certified archaeologist on site at all times during excavation to ensure that if anything is found during the digging process, that it is appropriately identified and appropriate actions are then taken. Those are the additional requirements that have accompanied correspondence to the Bridge and Port Authority. But before anything can happen, even just simple stabilization of the property, this site access agreement or some version thereof would have to be issued to allow them to be on our property, because to your point, they do not presently have that ability. So this document has been drafted and reviewed by the Port Authority's attorney as well as the city attorney to provide them access to complete the project once all of the other conditions are met.
And since there is, I don't know if it's accurate or not, I mean, wouldn't they have to do, I mean, they can't just dig and say, oh, at least we found something. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't want to give them permission to go through a graveyard.
So in the update that Andrew sent us, she was very thorough about following state law when you're going through graveyards, and you're going to have an archaeologist on site for all digging and things like that. She were very thorough on that with the requirements that they had to undertake when you're digging through a graveyard. And so I'm sure New York State has dotted their I's and crossed their T's.
Who issued the stop work order?
Me,
Were you by yourself or were there?
I was with a representative from Public Works.
I just don't see
And with the rec-
access to a cemetery or where you don't know where the bodies are buried. It's and oops, I just hit one, doesn't cut it. So
So
I won't
we-
vote for it.
We have gone through, we have tried our very best to find a map, which we had hoped would show that there were no grave sites in this particular area. It is an area that does have a previous culvert, but the culvert that is in existence is an 18-inch corrugated metal pipe. The culvert they're looking to put in is a 60-inch concrete culvert. It's significantly different. It is not really an in-kind replacement as it's referred to in their design reports. And certainly it is the council's purview not to authorize this site access agreement. But we have provided them with several alternatives, including what they would need to do in order to go forward with this option. And this is one of those requirements.
I'm glad you issued the stop work order, but I think it was rather difficult for you from what I heard. But
Well, they did not want to stop work initially, but they did. So
I think you're right.
yeah,
Yeah,
Very
by
good
all
question.
means, by all means, it was.
and as long as you're
Oh, yeah.
assuring us that everything's going to be followed for the potential of remains there, then I'm fine with the agreement.
we have made it very clear to Bridge and Port Authority that this would not be our first choice and that they should have further explored other options. That they did provide us their full reports And none of their reports acknowledge that this area is a burial ground. So that's, a problem. And I don't know whose fault that is. It doesn't really matter because it's in the past. Their own reports don't indicate that this is in fact a burial ground. So it isn't ideal. The city is in a bit of a difficult position. I mean, I think that we do want to be good neighbors to the Port Authority, but this is a burial ground. And while we don't have confirmed documentation that there is or are not graves in this particular location, we do know that there is an existing utility line right in this very same location. It will be at a different depth. Bridge and Port Authority is willing to, at their own expense, do some ground penetrating radar. Again, they would only be able to do that with a site access agreement. That is work that would be done immediately. And it would essentially survey the ground in an effort to identify anomalies. If in fact that were to show anything like presumed grave sites, then obviously that would maybe make them decide that they don't want to pursue the culvert in this particular location. However, we've also been very clear with them that we don't necessarily anticipate that there will be anomalies, and that in and of itself does not exempt them from compliance with the other requirements, namely having the archaeologist on site. A number of the graves that would be in this location on Potter's Field date back to the 1855, 1868 time period. And it is a Potter's Field, so the grave sites are not what we would consider to be sort of modern burial techniques. So it's very possible that there really would not be anomalies. But that does not in and of itself mean that there are not grave sites.
And while they may have sent the paperwork to whomever, I mean, it's still their responsibility to make sure that, I mean, that's like asking, but not actually getting an answer. I mean, the council has to approve it.
Absolutely.
Right. So
the whole process is being done in reverse of what it should have been done in.
Right.
Bridge and Port Authority has acknowledged that. But I really can't speak to how exactly we got here.
It's kind of like, oops, I went through your cemetery. I'm sorry. And, but it's done.
Yeah, right.
It's too late for that. They should have came and asked us. It's not their land. They took the liberty to do it. And now they're just stuck in it. And they spent the money. And as far as I'm concerned, find a new place to put your drain. Just somebody's family, and it doesn't matter. I mean, we just did the Constitution, proclamation today. We talked about 1812, the fort and the artifacts and all the stuff around here in our past, but yet we're willing to just let people desecrate it through a cemetery of poor people, which is insane. They've already been moved once.
Yeah, the beauty of that is I don't think we approved it,
No.
obviously, but I mean, them going forward. They had a couple of pieces of legislation this year that we knew nothing about, that they were moving that directly had impacts on the city. And no reach out to us when Councilor Reese suggested a task force for the
pilot payments.
Yes. And they came back to us. We amended our legislation at their behest, yet we've heard nothing from them related to certain actions. I'm all for progress, but when it directly has an impact on the city, its potential coffers, its staff and liabilities, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Reese,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
No.
Counselor Powers.
Quick question here, Andrea. This is just checks and balances, right? Keep
No.
everybody in for this access agreement with the Bridge and Port Authority to make sure that everything is being done on the level.
I mean, they have no authority to be on our property.
Right.
So this is the document that
Yes.
would give them the ability.
They don't even know if they dug anybody up, do they? I mean, really, nobody's been watching. They're already in there, right? You had to
Correct.
go
The
down
work
to
that was
stop
done up until August 1st was not done with oversight.
Is there
That's correct.
any work inside the cemetery right now? That's like a hole the size for a 5-foot pipe?
I mean, they are within the cemetery property at this
Right.
time.
So you don't even know if they've already hit somebody.
That's true. That is why we asked them to stop, and we don't
Well, I
know
know,
what they have
But
done.
now we're just gonna let them do it again. But you're gonna have an archaeologist standing there. You know, but you,
We're gonna have the ground surveyed. We're gonna have.
she just said it doesn't matter.
See if there's any artifacts.
But they buried people, not like we bury people today. So you're not gonna see those
Not
things.
gonna argue. You're
Well,
right.
she just said
You're
it.
right.
I'm
No, you're
agreeing
right.
with her.
I'm not, but, you know, I'm not also gonna stop progress. I know the Bridge and Port Authority's got a lot in this. Quite frankly, I'm mad as hell. You know, I am. You know, I'm not displaying what I really feel right now. But with that being said, I don't want to stop progress either at the airport or for the city or for the infrastructure we have coming through. If we can get a clean bill of health.
It's a
and move
drain.
forward. I get
It's
it.
a drain.
It's engineering and it's.
Somebody's loved
engineering
one
and
that's in the
it's-
ground.
I'm not debating that.
Where are we on the roll call?
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will also be read by City Manager Andrea Smith.
This is a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to act as the authorized official for the city of Ogdensburg for the Northern Border Regional Commission funding for the Main Street Pump Station project.
Move that. I'll second that.
So this currently reflects our former city manager. So in order to submit a drawdown on this particular project, we have to update the authorization paperwork, which requires this resolution by the council.
Thank you. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Mayor Skelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba?
Yes.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Reish?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will also be read by City Manager Andrea Smith.
This is a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to submit a downtown revitalization initiative grant application for up to $10 million.
I'll move that.
Second.
Yeah, I like the smaller downtown, proposed downtown boundary. So good luck.
Mhm.
When do they make the announcement?
No, it will be made later this fall.
Oh, really?
Late November.
Really?
They've been exciting, those projects, when we've worked on them, met with those people. Yeah. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Skelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba?
Yes.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Reish?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will also be read by City Manager Andrea Smith.
This is a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to enter into a contract with Barclays Safe and Lock.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
So this is a resolution that would install new cameras specific to the new playground and play area adjacent to the Dubisky Center to Barclays Safe and Lock for an amount not to exceed $15,942.69.
Staff had been working on these securing quotes for these cameras before the vandalism, but it takes time, and in today's time, it's not easy to get 3 quotes, which you always want 3 quotes. So I'm glad you've gotten them, and looks like a good quote, and thank you. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Dilaba?
Yes.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Reish?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Mayor Skelly?
Yes.
Approved.
Our last item of business will be read by City Comptroller Angela Gray.
Good evening. This is the resolution modifying the budget items related to the SRO contract effective July 1, 2023.
I'll move that.
Second it.
And Angela, this is to add, this is they have more money.
Correct. The contract that we are under currently effective July 1, 2023 calls for the purchase of new equipment. So this is just to modify the budget to bring that revenue in and adjust the appropriation line.
And the amount of $73,000, and that's actually police vehicles?
It's a lot of things, Counselor. It does include police vehicles, but there's other items in there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Reese,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
approved.
And this brings us to old business, and we will begin with City Manager Andrea Smith.
At the last council meeting, Counselor Reese inquired about our GoToWebinar license. That is a subscription that actually kind of just due to timing is renewed mid-year. So our renewal is September of 2023 for the upcoming year. And our current monthly fee is $358, and that allows for up to 1,000 participants remotely, as well as the ability to record and transcribe our meetings, which the transcription portion was a requirement during COVID. So we can reduce the cost to $178 a month. And it would still allow us the transcription and the recording, and it would reduce the number of attendees to 500. And I worked with Kathy, or I shouldn't really say that, Kathy ran a report year-to-date, September 22 through September 23, and our average attendance at city council meetings is 44 remote attendees. So it is staff's recommendation to renew our GoToWebinar, which allows for remote participation, but at a different subscription level, which would allow for 500 remote attendees, especially given that we are allowed to hold meetings in person. And so this is simply something to supplement our in-person meetings.
Do we need just a consensus for that?
A consensus would be great because we will be doing our renewal we've budgeted for it, but we will be doing that this month.
I'm in agreement with the 500, save a little money. We could always move it up if we needed to, right?
Yes.
So 500 is good for me.
I'm good.
Sounds good.
Great.
Does anyone else have any old business?
So I brought up taking the C10 simple vote. We were in the process back in July. Then we made a mistake, Mike and I, we moved the resolution. That was also on the agenda. And as the attorney's opinion came out, we should never did that. We should have just continued with the C10 simple vote. I've read it over and over again. And I know some people disagree, but that's his opinion. So obviously, I did motion earlier. I'd like to keep that motion on the table and just have a simple vote, one way or another.
Does anyone else have any old business?
It's table.
How do you move it? We vote to table, keep it tabled or not tabled?
Especially if I wasn't here, I have a right to bring it back on the table. So there it is, right now.
You were here when it was tabled.
If the votes were to stay the same,
Tabled it.
regardless whether it's a resolution or if it came under the confines of the charter under C10, if the votes were to stay the same, we wouldn't have this problem. Mr. Tooley be seated on the council as the votes came in, not as a resolution form.
In your
So what's the
opinion-
problem?
In your opinion, and we've already been through this, we've already argued it ad infinitum. It's already been tabled. Can I go ahead with old business?
Yes.
No, I think it's point of order.
We already
You're breaking
tabled.
the contract.
We already tabled.
You're breaking the chart. It's against the law, John.
We have an obligation under C10 to move or not
In
move.
your
What
opinion.
what law is that, Dan?
It's the charter.
What law though? What
We're
law?
following Robert's Rules of Order. The city charter is the
The
law.
legal binding document.
City charter
Okay.
is the law. You know, that's all there is to it. So
Well,
no,
I
you
think
can't
you interpret-
take this vote.
So every time when the budget, every agenda gets submitted and it's beyond the date when the agenda is supposed to be submitted, which is almost every council meeting, Are you saying staff is violent? It's against the law what they're doing?
They could be if we disapprove. Probably.
Well, so you can
So you can make up
approve for somebody to break
your own
the charter.
opinion.
Oh, God.
This
Forget
is
it, Dan.
finished Old business. This is under old business. I agreed to do that instead of at the beginning. So let's finish it. We brought up resolutions before. This isn't even a resolution. It's moving. It's a simple vote under C10 that you guys, you don't want to see Mr. Tooley, and I can't imagine why. I mean, it's that
You
simple.
just can't handle the fact that people have a different opinion.
I just want to get it over with. and have
We already did
It
get
is
it
over.
over with 20 times.
Even the attorney said, council should have did that. We didn't. So I'm saying, let's do it.
If everybody, if we're going to go by opinion, then what's the sense of having a vacancy committee? The vacancy committee did their job. They brought forth a host of candidates. We went through an exhausting voting process. A gentleman removed himself from the process. We moved the resolution.
I think
Why
we
do-
know that.
Excuse
I
me.
know, I
Excuse
think we
me.
know all
I
this.
saw it.
I know, but my point,
lived
this
it.
is my point. It's not an opinion. It's charter. We have an obligation as, hang on, please, let me finish. We have an obligation as elected officials to fulfill the charter, the vacancy committee that was before us that presented the candidates. We didn't fulfill that accurately yet under the confines of C10. That's all he's asking for.
That's all I'm asking.
Kill it, take the vote, kill it, or leave it wide open and potentially leave us open for
It's been voted on. You got to
in a
just
resolution.
accept it.
But
in a resolution, not under C10.
But if you bring it up like you are, like
Just
you did,
vote.
you made a motion, you second, and it becomes a resolution.
No, it's not a resolution.
Yeah, what do you, every
It's a simple vote
every
under
motion in a
C10.
second is a resolution. Then you need to give a
Order,
better
order,
definition.
please, order. I think you're acting like children. You're just not getting your way in your power. Order, order, order.
Real.
So, moving on, does anyone else have any old?
So why don't we just let it, you know, why don't we go into bed?
Order, order,
Why don't we go into bed?
order, Dan, order, order.
Attorney has an opinion, no, but see, he's got an opinion and it doesn't match their opinion or our opinion. So therefore, the opinions, you know what you can do with an opinion.
And the charters, I think.
So let's just, you know what? You guys are exhausting.
Why don't you-
You're exhausting me.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any
Finish,
other
Mike.
old business? Any
Yeah,
other
we
old
got
business?
Lucas.
Order, order out there.
Simple yea or nay vote.
So
Either step up and vote or don't.
To move
It's
on.
C10.
No,
That's all it is.
Go ahead.
I want to have a simple vote.
we already
Order,
voted and
Dan.
tabled it. So you're out of order.
Out of order.
No, he asked to take.
No, we're not gonna get you to grandstand. You can sit there and just keep bringing it up and do the same stuff.
He's not out of order. He motioned to bring it off the table. I seconded it.
Did you give him the floor?
Yea or nay?
Yes.
John,
Go ahead,
He's
John.
asking now to take it off the table and I seconded it.
Go ahead,
You can
John.
take any
John,
motion
you
off
have
the
the
table.
floor.
You have something? You have old business? Or we're moving on to
Let's
new?
just vote. I mean, what do we?
Dan, order.
Requires a majority vote. What do we get?
Okay, so he wants to vote on whether to take it off the table. I'm fine. Vote.
no.
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 There we go. Let's move on. Old business. You got one?
What's your point?
So, well, my point, I think we've been over the point. You guys are refusing to let the guy who has been picked by the vacancy committee
No.
sit in his seat, and I don't know why. I mean,
You voted against one of them. You voted against one of them for 20 times, so you're refusing to appoint someone.
no, I'm won't make it a vote.
So everybody here, we're all guilty of it.
Okay. John, do you have some business? Old business or new?
I just wanted to report that the audit committee met and I was surprised that the auditor that we hired in May had just signed the letter that day. I don't know what day we met, August,
September 5th.
September 5th. Yeah.
September 5th. So that means the audit kickoff started September 5th. And they've essentially said that they will do their best or they will deliver it by the end of November. So that's my report.
So you won't get it, the budget.
And then my other item for old business is something that Mike brought up. is the Bridge and Port Authority's agreement with airport security. Yeah, they're trying to get a bill passed, and they weren't successful in the last legislature to have peace officers. Is that right?
Yeah.
Instead of police officers. And we have a contract with them, which I don't know the terms of it, but I believe they can exit that contract at any time, so many days notice.
There is a termination clause. I don't recall if it's 60 or 90 days in the current contract.
So the point is, you could end up without funding for 2 positions. And so I hope, Andrea, that unlike last year, they didn't consult with you and the Potter's Field, and so I would hope that those discussions are going on, so that, I mean, the city has a legitimate concern if they're taking a different route and direction, and it could impact their budget seriously. So I hope those conversations are happening. That's all I want to say.
And this brings us to new business, and we will begin with City Manager Andrea Smith.
Annually, for the last several years, it has been brought to the council's attention of the application for use of the arena for the broadcast or amplification of sound. And this year, the event is planned to take place September 16th and 17th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Lockwood Arena. And this typically is discussed, and consensus of councils is given for that event to take place.
We've done it every year. I'm good with that.
I'm good with it.
Thank you. Any other new business?
Yeah, I read the response from the Development Authority of the state of New York, and it seemed like deja vu all over again, where for the past 31 years, the state's just, you talk to one agency and then they refer you to another agency, and there's 5 different agencies involved, and you can never get anywhere on anything that the city wants to do. And so I don't know where our letter and our resolution went to. I assume it went to OMH as well, and our elected officials.
Our letter was in response to DASNY's request for seeker lead agent, and it was returned to the sender, in this case, which is Matthew Stanley from the Dormitory Authority.
Oh, okay. Because in my original thing, it was supposed to go to our elected officials and OMH, and
They share it, but they have to share it with all of the partnering agencies as part of the seeker process, but it does go to DASNY as the lead agent.
so could a simple cover letter be put on the resolution and your letter? Find attach the city council's wishes in regards to this matter and send it to OMH, Office of General Services, Department of Correctional Services, Historic Preservation Office, and our 2 elected officials. And I'll end by saying that it is incumbent upon our elected officials, in particular our senator and our assemblymen, to work through the alphabet soup and get the wishes of the community and the city council achieved. And I appreciate what Assemblyman Gray's done to start moving this along, but I would like to see them move on what we adopted at our last meeting.
Just to follow up on that, Councilor Reish, I did speak with Senator Walczak this afternoon, who did forward, he has, and I think you all received as part of your initial packet, the letter that came from his office asking, paraphrasing obviously from a letter from back in early August, but he did ask the state to consider salvage of materials and additional inventory and analysis, not unlike what the city had asked. And he actually provided a copy of the response he received from DASNY to me today. So I will forward that to council so you can see that letter as well that was sent to Senator Walczyk's office.
Yeah, but we all, that's great. I'm glad he did that. But we also have a lot of different questions in there that are very legitimate concerns of the community and the council. Paramount among those is Senator Ritchie's bill that was adopted. Anybody remember the date?
2015.
2015. So the state legislature passed a law telling OGS to convey the land to the city of Ogdensburg. And apparently they don't have to follow the law that was adopted by the legislature. And that's the role of our senator and our assemblymen to work through, along with the Historic Preservation Office ignoring our filing of a request to have the entire campus put on the national and state register. And the State Historic Preservation Office just completely ignored it. And they did talk to me at one time that through my efforts to reach out to them and said that we need an inventory and analysis. It's like, why don't you do one, or why don't you have OGS do one? And they just pass it all along. So there are legitimate concerns, and our elected officials should work to address each one of those concerns that were approved by this council.
And this brings us to items for discussion, and we will begin with City Manager Andrea Smith again.
So I did include in the packet for you all some correspondence from Mr. Rick St. Jean, who is here this evening, and would like to address council on his early concept for prison redevelopment.
Hello, people.
Hello.
I'm Rick St. Jean. I'm from Watertown, and I'm trying to submit a proposal to the prison system for the redevelopment of the Ogdensburg prison and the Watertown prison. And basically, what we're looking to do is develop an elderly housing community with all the amenities, and an affordable housing community. And in the Ogdensburg facility, we'd also like to do a light industrial portion of it for adapting overseas shipping containers into office space and residences. They wouldn't be used on these facilities, but they would be, shipped around the country. And pretty much that's the bulk of it. And I'd also like to see if the council has any other recommendations they'd like to see.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think light manufacturing would be ideal. It's in the proximity of the bridge and port,
Yep.
which is already doing that. Yeah, those buildings would be perfect for it. There's some modifications that need to be done, take away the steam heating system and install boilers, but very viable and very financially manageable to convert those buildings.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's how we look at it. And the longer they sit there, the more deteriorated they
Yes.
become.
Have you submitted your proposal to?
And, no,
the
they have to be
owners?
in by the end of October. And I was trying to have a concept that would fit within the city's purview that you would like to see.
So they are selecting, they are,
Yeah,
Out with
request
a-
for proposals are out there.
and Ogdensburg was included on that?
Success, RFPs or,
Yeah.
or evaluations?
RFPs.
They've taken down the razor wire, which
Yeah.
helps a lot. It's not.
Well, I mean, we're ready to move. I mean, I see the process taking 6 months to a year. We've engaged an engineering firm,
Who's that?
Gymo Engineering.
Gymo?
Yep.
Yep.
What correspondence have you had with any state entities?
Well, I submitted proposals to both of them, and we're trying to get it.
OMH and docs or?
What was that?
OMH or DOCS, the Department of Community,
Actually, it's called the Empire Real Estate Development Corporation.
ESD?
So basically, if my proposal sounds like something that fits your vision for it, a letter of support would help.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it doesn't fit my vision in
No.
particular. I know we've talked as a council.
Yep.
And I'm on the county task force with the prison.
Yep.
And our vision is to see a couple of things happen there, neither of which is low-income housing. I think Ogdensburg has a lot of low-income housing jobs, so we don't need low-income housing. I'd like to see industry there. I'd like to see manufacturing there. I'd like to see possibly an expansion of a mental health facility.
Yeah.
And that's the direction the task force has been going in.
Yeah.
Is those two entities, not low-income housing.
Well, there's a difference between low-income housing and affordable housing. They're two different animals.
Yeah.
Either way, neither one of them fits the bill.
Okay, fair enough.
And not to be disrespectful at all, I understand what you're doing.
You have your opinion.
And that's wonderful. And, but I know I did talk to some members of the task force today, and they're unaware of this. And
It's very preliminary.
Yeah.
And I'd much rather come before you guys and tell you what my concept is than just come in with a plan and do it. And,
Absolutely.
you guys not having any input.
It's my understanding right now that the Ogdensburg Housing Authority has a large surplus of apartments for low-income housing right now.
And
So
affordable housing.
it's not a great need at this point, but light manufacturing jobs, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Have you gotten any feedback from Watertown for the Dry Hill area?
Actually, I'm going before the selectmen on Wednesday night.
Any other, you got any background in doing this previous? I mean, any other development projects that you've done? in the past?
I moved to New York 4 years ago to retire from New Hampshire.
Saw the eye roll from here.
But, I've done quite a bit of development in New Hampshire. I did a lot of residential. I've done commercial, industrial, built roads, pretty much anything you could require in construction. I've done. So, I know that.
The only thing I have an issue with is the stay for the demolition of some of these properties that we've been chasing for decades.
I mean, it's a shame what's going on with the psychiatric facility. Them buildings are beautiful, right?
We can agree on that, that's for sure.
And we'd like to get involved with that and actually restore the buildings.
Have you seen them?
Yes, I took a tour through there today. But
Best of luck with your proposal, and I support any proposal from a private company that's, responding to their RFP and that wants to do any type of development down there. So I wish you luck.
yeah,
Yes.
no, we're not requiring any tax credits or, any financing. It's all funded and ready to go. Andrea brought me on a tour today of some city-owned properties that we're going to submit a proposal on also.
Nice.
So, she's a wealth of information. She's an asset to your community.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your interest in our
Feel free
community.
to contact me at any time. She has my number. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything for discussion?
I just caught something in a note to us or update. What was the tax rate for the school this year?
$22.29.
So was that just a function of the reval that we did? They went from, I assume they were at 29 or 30 and they went down to 22.
Correct.
And was that all just a function of the reval or did they have more state aid? Nothing's been written. Okay.
I
Just
can't
curious.
see that.
That's good news.
Yeah, very good news. And this brings us to citizens' participation. At this time, anyone attending in person would like to address council, come down. You have 2 minutes at the podium.
I'll be brief. Since we're still not in agreement, of all the back and forth that happened tonight and then that we were hearing from the audience too, or the whatever we're called out here, the citizens. I do suggest that we have an option to contact our Attorney General and also the Public Integrity Bureau if we're feeling that things aren't being done according to what our charter is or according to what the law is. And I can, if anybody messages me, I can let you know the address to that. We also have contactmypolitician.com if that is something that makes it easier for you to contact any of your politicians. Thank you.
Hi, how we doing? I'm back here again to talk about my yard fiasco, and I got some interesting stuff. Okay, when this all started out, and I've already given you all at that table information, I was then told it's a civil matter. I was given a incident report, which I provided to all yous, and then I was lied to by the chief of police and told over a period of time that he agreed with the director of public works, the trucking company's insurance policy should handle it. They should pay for it. That never happened. Then I was told by the chief that he reached out to them for me after I waited and was told like 5 different phone calls. He was so sorry. He'd been busy. He was going to take care of this for me. That he called and they told him, well, we gave you information that morning and we're not giving you any more information. Then he told me it was a civil matter at that point and I had to take them to court, which doesn't make sense. I called the court clerk. I talked to her here. They don't give legal advice, but you know, we had a little bit of a conversation and I thought, you know what, this I'm going to do exactly what the city's asked me to do. So I got the application. I was going to hand in the incident report with it, along with I had requested this week or at the end of last week for a statement on Ogdensburg City letterhead stating what I'm being asked to do by city management and the chief of police at this point. Basically stating that I was asked to bring this to civil court and what I was told to do to hand in with the application. Well, it's kind of funny because here's what I got instead. But before I read you what I got instead from the city attorney and letterhead, let me just read you what Mr. Dalmage pointed out to me, the only person out of 4 department heads who actually told the truth, because they misquoted him in the police report, and he said what they quoted, he said is absolutely not true, and he wasn't involved in that. Removal of stone or other materials, no person, section 189-7, removal of stone and other materials. No person shall, without permission from DPW Director of Public Works, dig, remove, or carry away, or cause to be dug, removed, or carried away any stone, earth, sand, gravel, or other material from any street or public place. Now, here's what I just received. I'm real good at pointing out when I've been lied to. And here's what I received tonight, just when I got home from work, from the city attorney. Dear Mr. McNamara, it is to my understanding that you have requested a written statement from the city authorizing you to pursue a civil matter on behalf of the city regarding city-owned property damaged at or near your residence. I would like to inform you that the city will not authorize you to take any actions on its behalf for this or any other legal claims. I already knew I was going to receive this bullshit because I've been lied to this entire time.
Here you are over your 2 minutes.
I have reviewed the June 13th incident reported prepared by Officer Danielle Price based on your complaint. I have also discussed this matter with involved city department heads and staff, as well as the city manager. It is the city's position that the alleged damages are inconsequential and not worthy of legal action. Well, if they're so inconsequential, city manager, why is it that this couldn't have been resolved? This happened months ago. And it says that it changed job to handle the situation, and why is his hands being tied in handling this? The code said he handled it, and he says he's not handling it. You don't like what I bring here, Mike, because the city's corrupt. And thank God Chief Kearns ain't here, you'd have me carried out of here in handcuffs.
Oh, we can bring one in. We can bring one in. You had.
Yeah, of course you will.
You're
You're a piece of shit. Fuck you.
Got arrested on that one.
Is there anyone else?
Well, my language won't be so bad. But I would like everybody's eyes on me. Now, I sit out here for however long. My attention's fully on you.
Okay, I don't want anybody doodling, reading, whatever. My 2 minutes is my 2
You
minutes.
have your 2 minutes and talk, and we can do what we wish. It's a free country. Go ahead. Have
So
your
I
2
can
minutes.
talk back there when
No,
you're,
you cannot.
why not?
can't.
It's a free country. Yeah, no,
That's enough back there.
no, not today they don't.
Let her
You wanna
start,
come
let
up-
her
You
start.
want to come up, talk, come up to the podium and talk.
Give her a full 2 minutes.
Can I have my 2 minutes back? Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I was here the last meeting and I told you about the drugs in the area. Well, since the last meeting, I had a guy across the street doing pulling his pants down in the driveway. Now, what I'd like to know is, as residents of this street, do we need to start taking care of it ourselves? Because quite honestly, I called and talked to somebody in the city hall this week and they told me that block was terrible. So then, last week, I hear we're either going to raise taxes or we're going to cut the police and the fire. What are we doing? I want to get my for sale sign. I want to get my house cleaned out. I want to put her up for sale. We're not going to have any protection any more than we got right now. I'm out of here. I was in Buffalo last weekend looking at apartments. I just paid my house off too. Just paid it off last month. But now I think I'm going to be moving. This is ridiculous. The cops were called. They come up. They gave him a paper. Told him he should seek some services. I said, what services? Funeral services? He goes out in the middle of the road like that too many times. He's going to get killed. On my block of Grove Street, the corner has a van parked, a car parked, a truck parked, well, whatever way he wants to park. And then there's another truck behind it. I almost hit a car head on one day when I was trying to get down my own street. Because there's vehicles parked there that shouldn't be parked there. But yet nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. What does it take, a year for anybody to get off their ass and do something? What about your block, Mike? Is that nice and clear? No druggies, no nothing? I'd like my block like that. I pay taxes too.
The first drug bust when we were in April, when we were elected, was right across the street. Person came, they were arrested, taken away 5 a.m. and early afternoon, the sheriff brought them back to the
Yeah.
apartment. So
Yeah. And are they there now?
I don't know where they are.
But they're not across the street from you.
Apparently, the landlord's done a better job.
I think the landlord in that house on 11 Grove Street probably collects the drug as rent. I think that's pretty poor. The house is terrible. Has there been an inspection in the house?
The police department's where you need to talk to. Have you talked to them?
I've talked to them. You know what? Perhaps some of you guys, hello, I want your attention. Some of you guys should get in the back of a cop car and ride around with these guys to find out just how busy they are. Maybe that should happen. And then maybe you won't put so much on them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Anyone remotely attending?
The first individual is registered as Carol Sias, and I will unmute that individual now. It appears you are self-muted. She has disappeared, Mayor.
Anyone else?
I do not see any other hands raised.
Okay.
Would the council be willing for like a 5-minute executive session on a personnel matter? Would that be possible? Not even 5 minutes, depends on.
I'm not.
No.
Tonight, I'm not.
Anybody else?
If there's a consensus, I'll stay.
Who's, no.
It's an important matter.
I mean, if
Is it an employee? If it's an employee, we should look out for them. I mean,
I-
gotta come back?
No, we're done. No, we're
Okay.
done.
Okay, so there won't be any
Well,
action.
I guess I just have a question. Is our manager in line with this? Does she understand what we're going to talk about?
he has a right to go, make a motion to go into executive session.
I'm asking a question.
Well, he just said it. I didn't even know why.
I'm asking a
She's
question.
welcome to attend our
That's
executive
great.
session.
Okay. Is there a consensus?
Sure.
Okay. And we're going to have an executive session now, and there'll be no
Mayor.
action afterwards.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I did not catch the second.
Oh,
I'll second.
Thank you. And I really should call the roll, especially if you're not coming back.
yes.
Okay. So this is to go to executive session. Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Reach,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
approved.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn when we leave executive session.
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Second?
Yes. Yeah, second.
Let's do it by ayes.
Will you call the roll, Kathy?
Sure. Counselor Reach,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Adjourn.
to adjourn. Thank you. Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
approved.
Yeah, you betcha.